affiliate owners are not unhappy with CrossFit when they make 10 grand a month. If you don't like to write workouts, then you need to hire someone for your space, maybe, to look at your equipment, to look at what you can do.
You know how you work with your wife and you have pet names for each other?
Yeah, these are just pet names.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I'm joined here today by my friend, partner, and resilient ice bath guru, Mateo Lopez. And we're coming off of a week at the CrossFit Games. And there we met today's guest, the Midwest CrossFit affiliate representative, the CrossFit seminar staff leader. Is that a word we would use for the previous?
Yeah, that sounds right. Just, old school seminar staff guy.
Old school seminar staff and the owner, but not operator, of CrossFit Tabor, Andrew Charlesworth. And from my understanding, Andrew isn't even your real name. That's a fake name. That's a pen name, right?
Wow. How did you get that? Oh, because of my stupid name tag. Yeah.
I mean, the name tag that was done by your employer.
Yeah, that was, I do so many hats, so I don't know where that one was pulled. Probably from travel, because when you arrive in a different country and your name says Andrew Charlesworth and you're being interrogated at the border, it's not a good look.
So what's your official name? What is your official your birth name?
My birth name is Robert, but my dad was a little guy and I'm not a little guy, so my mom wanted me named after my dad, and he said, this was his quote. He was a small guy, but he had a big personality, so they called him Big Bob. And he was like, "Holy shit, this kid's huge. I'm going to be called Little Bob. We have to name him. He has to be named Andrew." So.
Oh wow, that's I mean, I don't know. Like I read a lot. Like I feel like there's a lot of these instances where Little Bob is actually gigantic and Big Bob is like small. Like I feel like you could have run with it. You could have just switched the labels, I think, and it would have been cool. But yeah, here we are. I guess
who's to say? Who's to say, Mateo? So
yeah, who's to say?
Teo, you've owned CrossFit gyms before in the past, and you've been to the CrossFit Games a few times before in the past as well. What was your assessment on the state of affiliates and the state of CrossFit having taken a 5-year hiatus from the games?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think attendance was like kind of a slightly smaller, but I think activity in the affiliate lounge was definitely bigger, and there were more bodies in there than I've ever kind of experienced. So it definitely seemed like on the business side, on the affiliate side, there was a lot of energy, a lot of activity, a lot more people hanging out in the affiliate lounge. So I did think that, I did note that. I did think that was interesting, that there was just a lot of vibrancy at a time when I figured maybe there wasn't going to be so much. But yeah, it was cool to see for sure. Did
you tell me, Andrew, there was 1,000 affiliates there?
Well over. We checked in at a minimum, I think over 1,000, but there was probably, in terms of affiliates, it's kind of hard because it's like, is it the license of record on the affiliate, or is it the manager who runs the gym, or is it the operator, whatever? So I would imagine there's probably over 2,000 affiliates at the games.
And before we get too deep into the weeds here, for our listeners who aren't familiar with how CrossFit is structured, or maybe they were in CrossFit but left, can you explain what an affiliate representative is, like what it is you do for CrossFit?
Yeah, it's brand new. I mean, we're 1 year into this. It probably should have happened 5-10 years ago. I mean, realistically, but so when you become an affiliate, how the affiliate model has been structured is you obviously do your level 1, and then you apply for affiliation. You pay a license fee, you have insurance, and then you are casted away like a beautiful butterfly, and you hope to do well. There's no business advice inside of the level 1. And honestly, I know you guys know business. When it comes to being a franchise versus a license, like there's a lot of things you got to look into on that as well. So it was done perfectly. However, the affiliates spoke and they needed a little more guidance, right? They needed a little bit more of a connection to a human to get to CrossFit, or someone to show them, hey, here's the new tools we're coming with. Did you know we have an affiliate partner network? Hey, are you struggling? Get on my calendar as an affiliate owner. Let me at least talk to you. Let me get you, like case in point, we couldn't get in touch with an affiliate owner. This was last year. And turns out he had cancer. He had been in the hospital for so long. Like, I need to know those sorts of things. So we're not just sending automated emails to be like, here, pay your bill, and because that's not what the CrossFit community was built on. It was still built on a humanitarian mission and caring for the individual and people. So my job's to be in all that.
I heard, so you've done a couple podcasts with Stu Brower before, and we were talking before the show. I listened to one at 2x speed, which I don't recommend.
Which one was that?
With Stu Brower, I would recommend somewhere in the 1 to 1.5 for the speed listeners. It was one where you said the word humanitarian 300 to 400 times. So can you explain? Like he was like, I like business, and you're like, I see it as a humanitarian thing. He's like, whatever. So can you explain what you mean by because this is a business podcast. Teo doesn't believe in humanitarian efforts. He just maximizing profit. That's what he's all about. So can you explain what you mean by like CrossFit's humanitarian, or you run your gym in a humanitarian way? Like what does that mean?
Yeah. So if your sole goal in life is like capitalism, which is fine. Like, I don't hate someone for that. Some would argue I'm that way. Then maybe owning a single like CrossFit gym is not going to be the best possible thing, right? Okay. I mean, so if you took your level 1, you decided to open up a CrossFit gym inside of your space, inside of your community, you probably have a greater mission of like a sense of community, knowing people's, knowing their family, knowing their kids, knowing if they got a divorce, knowing if they're sick. You probably crave that church-like culture. But you have to have a balance, because that is not going to pay your bills either all the time, giving people discounts, doing whatever. But your sole mission, more than likely, is probably on the humanitarian side versus the capitalism side.
I mean, I think that's totally spot on. I do think I've heard it from plenty of people I've talked to about like, why'd you open your affiliate? How'd you get into CrossFit? It's very similar to my story as well, right? Like, I discovered the methodology one summer, when I was on my break from school, and like, I just thought it was incredible. And I thought this was the secret to, curing all that ails us in this country, like grass-fed steak, kale, deadlifts and squats. That's the secret to eternal life. And, if we just spread this gospel enough, we can save the world. And I didn't care about making money. I was determined to be poor as long as more people did CrossFit. So I do think that resonates, at least with me and others I've talked to. But then you kind of hit that wall where it's like, well, if you want enough people to be exposed to this magical methodology, you have to keep your doors open, and you need to pay rent, and you got to make money. And so there is that tension that I think you're kind of touching on, which is, what is that right balance of wanting to help as many people as possible with this amazing thing you've come upon and you want to spread to more people, but also you need to make enough money to survive. You need to make more money than that to hire people, to make sure they survive, to expand. So yeah, I do think there's that tension. And I guess, how are you attempting to resolve that tension as a, affiliate, helper guy? I don't remember the title.
Dude, the title, sometimes I tell people, they're like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm the CEO of the Midwest.
Yeah. I was going to say the Duke of the Midwests of CrossFit. Yeah.
Just a little guy in CrossFit.
The Midwest, that like the states we picked, but it's like, no, I don't. So essentially, I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan. Not that I follow his advice. Okay. But sure, there's no human who makes more content than Dave Ramsey. You guys know that? I really want you to think about it. 3 hours a day for how long has he had his radio show? 30 years. And so in there, I like how he's very clear and direct with people. I need affiliate owners to understand who they are and what they want. if you want to have the highest, average revenue per member, things like, I know you guys, 2 Brain Kilo, all that type of, you guys do a great job with explaining the higher ticket. Higher ticket is a lot more work. And so you need to be really ready for that and business structure. And not every affiliate owner wants that. They don't. A lot of them just want to coach. So then I'll push them, well, then we need to build you out a CEO, because you can't be the best CEO and the best coach. You got to figure out which one you want to do. And then some people are like, I just want to have a really cool community and have a place for people to work out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then you're going to have to pay a lot of people and just expect a very, very low profit, and I can show you a few ways to do that. But I push people to mentorship as fast as I can in any way. I don't have any sort of bias. As long as mentorship's helping people, I'm super happy.
So it sounds like you basically, when you talk to affiliate owners, it's like, okay, well, what do you want to be? What do you want this thing to be? Are you trying to like get rich? That's fine. There are a couple ways to do that. But if not, like if you want to just coach, then you need to find someone else who's going to run ops. And if you want to just actually create almost like a, not a charity, but run a fitness as like, kind of this communal place to congregate and just interact with the community and offer a service, as you said, as a low, kind of with a lower profit margin, then you can do that too. But you just have to kind of identify which one of those buckets you're going to be in. And then you can go down take the right steps to make sure that happens, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right. So we talked a little bit about the humanitarian piece. And I do think it's interesting that when Glassman spoke at Harvard, he spoke at the divinity school and not the business school. And I always found that talk impactful, but like having worked with, on my journey to 2Brain, there's probably been 1,500 people who've cycled through since there. I think it led to a lot of people struggling unduly, meaning that, they treated it like a nonprofit instead of an actual business. And so, you got a lot of people who went bankrupt and got leveraged up to the hilt and, were struggling when just some like borderline business systems could have helped them. Right. I feel like nobody got into CrossFit to get rich, especially in that early crowd. Right. So, Andrew, when did you start?
I started in 2010, just like how normal people do inside of affiliate. And then they really turned, I think I started interning for seminar staff in 2012. And that's when they turned, the CrossFit was booming right there. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So I started doing CrossFit in 2010. Teo, you were the same, right? Or 2009?
I think 2010.
Yeah.
Summer 2010.
Okay. So, yeah. And so I'm guessing your guys' experience, like the first affiliate I went to, it was like owned by a group of firemen. It was like it was just a passion project. You just shoot. It was more of a club than a business. And then you saw like we started in late 2012. Teo came on early 2013 or 14. 14. And that's when it was like, we opened our door, our second location, we opened our door with 220 members. We sold over $200,000 in memberships in 48 hours. And it was like, oh shit, this is a business. And, you saw that. And that was when you had like affiliates opening across the street from each other, 3 within a mile radius in a town with 10,000 people. And then over the last couple of years, I think in North America, you probably saw that number decline. And from what I understand, it's starting to plateau a little bit. Do you feel like there's been a situation where you kind of like flushed out all the people who like within the affiliate community where all the people who were like in it for the money have flushed out, and now you're kind of back to that point again where, there's an understanding that you need to be business minded, but also, it's like, hey, making a shit ton of money is not the number one priority. Like, do you feel that sentiment throughout the community now?
Yeah, for sure. And I like how you frame that. I don't love the word flushed out, because when affiliates are struggling, like their last line of defense, when they're like, cancel, I have no money, etc., I'm still reaching out to them. I'm being like, dude, what can I do? Can I help you find a member? Can I, take over? So we were definitely not trying to, but yeah, inevitably, I think the people who got into this for a hobby, for the most part, are either, they sold or they figured something out, and that's why you're seeing the plateau. But I think you're going to see a huge growth in affiliates within the next 5 or so plus years, because it's very obvious that everything that's opened up, every freaking thing you can imagine, is essentially stemmed from CrossFit. I'm not afraid to admit that whatsoever. Give me any sort of, one of the best business advice, I haven't heard this on any business podcast. You really want to have an easy marketing tool. Go get all the trainers from every Orange Theory, every Berries, everything around you. Go offer them 3 months free to your gym. Train them. And then when people ask you, like, what's the difference between you guys and Orange Theory? Be like, I'd train those trainers.
Yeah, we know a guy in New York at a gym Taylor used to train at. He would train all the people who worked at like Peloton, like all the people who are like on the classes, and they all went there, and that's how they looked great. And so that was just like the ultimate sales pitch.
Totally.
So I noticed, like, in the early days of CrossFit, when you were starting, it seemed like business was like a taboo topic, right? Like 2010, that was like the forums were big. The forums were super big, right? And that's where you'd ask questions. People would ask business questions, and it's basically like, marketing, what a loser. The meantime, like, people were struggling to pay their rent, right? This year at the games, the thing that I noticed that was dramatically different is like, CrossFit was putting on business development. Like I spoke on behalf of Two Brain, HSN was speaking, Best Hour spoke, Daniel Chaffee spoke. He's got a thing, I don't know what it's called. Like trying to get different perspectives, it seems like, on business. What and then HQ does actual mentoring now, right? If I
correct, we have our own mentorship program. Yep.
And so what do you think the reasoning is behind that? Is it just it's like, we want people to succeed regardless of who it's with?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think from the affiliate side, that's the department I'm in, the gym affiliates. We have recognized that some behaviors, even of the past, maybe not of us, have pushed people away when people are simply trying to help. And if our goal is to help affiliates increase revenue, like I said, you could do that anywhere. We could care less. We want to present you with the tools to do so. If you find value, if somebody comes in and said, CrossFit's stupid, here's why, then yeah, we're probably gonna be like, let get out of here. But it's not. Fundamentally, there's no real flaws in the methodology. There's no real flaws in our education. It's just in terms of business development, we've left a lot out there, and affiliates want more. So we're trying to give them more, and we recognize that there's professionals out there who have focused in this stuff. So why can't we talk to them? Why can't we bring them in that way?
And within your region, how many affiliates are you overseeing, basically?
About 800.
And what are the most common issues you see? Like, what is causing affiliates to struggle?
Did I tell you the golf story when we were chatting?
No, but
okay, I'll give you the golf story.
Tell the world.
Golf
story.
So I was golfing, and any affiliate owner can try this. Go golf, even if you don't like golf. Just like go golf with somebody who's a member of a country club. So I was doing that recently. He's acquaintance, not like a close friend. Comparable salaries, and same thing. I think he's got one kid. I'm on two, but and he's like, man, I need to get out to this golf course more. I've been paying the membership, and I'm like, oh, okay. What's the membership to this place? And mind you, this is in Michigan, so seasonal. The guy's $4,000 a year. And I was like, damn. In my head, I'm like, so you and your wife validate golf for $4,000 a year. My next bit, I do a call for the Midwest every Tuesday. Anyone can hop on. I send emails out. It's just it's called a business think tank. That's all we talk about. And we did, out of the 16 gyms there, our average revenue per member per year was $1,526. And I'm like, I told them the golf story. I'm like, so guys, this average human pays over double to golf. And I'm like, do you love golf? Is it everything you like? He's like, I don't know, man. I played in high school. It's just, you have kids, you golf. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. because we have people who come in who go to the affiliates. They go there every day. They wouldn't miss a day. Their best friends are there. Their life is there. And some are $1,200 per year. I'm like, we need to up the affiliates rates. We need to respect what we do. So that's the number one thing. They have to charge more, and they have to figure out ways to charge more. You can't be a bad coach and just charge more. You can't offer less services and charge more just because. So you need to figure out ways to incentivize a higher price point.
I saw that this morning yesterday morning in the Chalk Up. There was actually an article saying like the thing that Don Fall is prioritizing is helping affiliates charge more. And hearing your golf story, it's almost like I'm LOLing in the background here because we're in South Florida where $4,000 is like laughably cheap, right? Where
Sure.
You got clubs down here where people will pay $250,000 for the initiation for the privilege to pay $30,000 to $50,000 a year to play golf. So, you know, the $120 they pay for their CrossFit membership is probably for a lot of people, it's like that's just laughably low. And so in your opinion, talking to some of these guys, some of your lower price people, right? So 1,200, that's about $100 a month in membership, right? So, like what is it? Is it a mindset thing? Do they feel like their gym's not good enough or their coaching's not good enough? Or are they humanitarians? And this is just like a form of
systems,
service?
Operation, equipment. I always tell affiliate owners, take a class at Orange Theory, take a whatever, understand why they can charge this much. There's really pretty lights. It's very clean. It's very organized, structured. The operations are spot on. I can fundamentally, from an exercise physiology standpoint, explain to you why Orange Theory is not necessarily the smartest way. I am just wasting my time doing that. Why would I? Like, no one cares. They're like, I love it here. It's fun. So what I try to get affiliates to understand is like, I don't know. My gym, we're pretty bougie, I would say. I have like 30 ergs. I have runners. Everything is operated. Like the workout is always, I can't follow a programming. My wife writes our program because it's for our gym specifically, the operations, the way the layout is, where the TV is, where it shows the workout. Like I want to have people have an experience as organized as one of these, boutique fitness gyms, but with the fitness that I want. More as like NC Fit. They're all CrossFit affiliates. Again, it's like you can see where he kind of went that route. Look at that. And these are old photos.
Hey, you should work with the service. If only there was a service that helped you make this look beautiful.
I really should. Like we have a loft, so I actually have 160 lockers up there now. So
is that where you keep the children? You put the dogs and children up there, and then just.
We are a dog-less gym, and a children. Go in the other room, but they're pretty decent over there. But they know. Yeah, I haven't seen these.
We ran into those issues. We banned both of those as well. I like your definition of bougie. Is a very CrossFit-y definition of bougie. Is just the number of rowers and ergs. Ergs and bikes.
I do think the wood paneling that definitely elevates the.
Well, you're also in how many people are in Fenton? How many people live there?
Good question. No idea. We can figure it out, but also, what's that? 12,000?
Yeah.
So dude, it's funny because we sign up over 100 plus people for the Open, and so does the other affiliate, which is funny because we have if there's only 12,000 people, 300 ish sign up for the Open in this small little town. That's funny.
That's good market penetration. Yeah, you guys are doing a good job. So how many members do you have in your gym?
I think right now we have 165, 175, somewhere in there. But I'm actually going to, I'm not a poser, so I'm going to change my membership model in September for net new people this time. I just, I did a membership raise recently, but net new, I'm going weekly. If it works, great. I'm going to let affiliates know, here's what I did. Doesn't mean it will work for you, but I'm going to have a lot of before and afters because I firmly believe with offering a little more services, like we're going to have free InBody for everybody. I'm going to go down that route. They'll get one personal training session per month if they choose it. And $57 a week, like list the benefits.
I'm looking here. It says the household income is about 63 grand. So it's not, it looks like that's pretty decent. That's definitely above, that's probably 20 to 30% above the US average. So,
but that's also, it's so hard to just go by Google. Remember, that's the same township as Flint, Michigan that you're talking about. So I grew up, I went to a Flint, Michigan high school. I played basketball. Like this city is the only city where there's $2 million houses. Within 5 miles, you can get a house for $5,000 or less, or free if you just go to the land bank.
Right. You got that Flint water.
Yeah.
Part of the bouginess, you got water filters.
I do. I'm good because I'm not on the city pipeline, obviously. But I did real estate a lot in Flint when I thought I was going to be, the next Grant Cardone. And I could go on a whole podcast about how maybe not buying like low income rentals is the smartest thing to do with your money. But yeah.
Yeah, I could do a podcast on how people who say real estate is passive investing. It's kind of like the people who are going to passively own their gym.
I'm gonna do I'm gonna start a podcast called Non-Real Estate Passive Income, and see how many people click on it.
I think a fair amount. A fair amount.
Yeah,
I think the other thing that the takeaway from what you were saying before about, hey, go take a class at Orange Theory, go take a class at Soul Cycle. The other thing to do is I think it's just a consistent quality of the experience, right? Y7's another big yoga chain that's in New York and LA. And if you go at any class, I never know who the instructors are because it doesn't really matter. It's going to be the same kind of quality and the same experience every time, which I think is another way, you can kind of professionalize what's going on at your affiliate and elevate the experience. If you can make it consistently good and not just certain coaches are the good ones, I think that's another piece that and it's hard. It's the hard part too. That was the hardest thing for us to do, I think, when we were on him as well. But I think that's another takeaway looking at these other models.
People get married to the concept of constant variance. And take, for example, we do Endurance Friday every Friday. Every Friday, there is a erg element. There is a lower skill, medium skill gymnastic element, and then either a power clean or power snatch complex element. And people build up for 10 sets. It's always 30 minutes. Sometimes we toy with things a little bit, every 8 weeks or so. It is our highest attended class. Everyone, because set one, you're just picking I do 15 calories on the Echo and I make the more elite, fitness guys do that with me because it's harder to, and then you're lifting as heavy weights as possible. And typically the gymnastics element is, the RX should be the top of the people do it, but it's never anything like, 5 ring muscle ups. Nah, it's probably going to be more 3 wall walks or something like that, where majority of people can either maybe do one or half of one, but they're getting the conditioning element and they're liking that they're lifting something heavy.
That's interesting because we've seen stats where one of the lowest attended days for a gym is Friday or Saturday. So it's interesting that your highest attended day is, Friday, because you're just putting on this awesome, cardio kind of focused class every week without fail. So I think that's pretty cool.
If I did that every day, I'm not going to. If that was our workout every single day and I just marketed it that way, I would probably see a huge influx of people. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to do that though, because I still firmly believe in I need a little more variance to truly get some fitness out there for people. I don't want them to become numb to lower to medium intensity, but high intensity, man. We really get after it one day a week. We call it a compete day. And people read that. They go, okay, this is my only compete day a week. I'll go for it. Everything else is flow intervals.
And so you are obviously very passionate about how you structure your programming, your workouts. Your wife makes the programming, right? Did I understand that correctly? What if you're an affiliate who's not passionate about that? What advice would you give them?
That's not passionate about programming?
Yep.
you can always farm your programming out. However, it blows my mind how many people do so. Not that it's bad. I'm happy for them. It's just like, I think of my gym. We have 6 air runners, 6 echo bikes, 6 ski ergs, 6 rowers, 11 bike ergs. So, I have to write 4 movements, or my wife writes 4 movements. I know I can always rotate people through, right? Typically, 24 person is our higher class. But if I went to 28, I'd just add 1 more erg to the 4, because that's how I will always cycle things through. And if it's a workout that I don't want to cycle people through, let's say it's 15 calories on the erg, 10 wall balls, 1 power clean. How I do that is it's just calories. It's just grab a thing. Why did we go for bikes? A, because people like them the most, and B, they're tiny, right? They fit. So I just don't get how, if you don't like to write workouts, then you need to hire someone for your space, maybe, to look at your equipment, to look at what you can do. I don't know. This is my rant on it.
Well, let's go the other side of the coin, because most gym owners love programming, and they spend a lot of time in the minutia of the barbells and whether it should be a couplet or a triplet. And so there's a lot of times where, it's to the detriment of their business. They spend way too much thinking about programming for the 3 athletes that are going to come in instead of spending that extra.
You've seen this before.
Yeah, it's weird. And so if you are someone who's obsessed with that element of it, but aren't necessarily obsessed with the business element of it, how would you advise an affiliate like that? So the artiste.
I would advise them to do online programming, because that's what they're passionate about, or sell programming, and maybe get, sell your gym to someone who wants to run the gym. You're better off taking all of that time and going to the grocery store and just doing a cartwheel in the middle of the aisle and saying, I own a CrossFit gym. Did you see that cartwheel? Would anyone like to come sign up? You're better off doing that for prospecting than programming like crazy. People are worried did I get enough snatch balance work this month? It's man, you really have to focus more on retaining members, getting more members, surveying them if they like the experience, taking your own classes. I take class every day, 6 a.m., like clockwork. So I don't know, man, start your own training business. I'm surprised you didn't know this, John. I was the co-creator of the Thunder Bro. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. At this point, I feel like a lot of people have.
I heard that you were talking about this on your podcast with Stu. This was
we've done so many with him now. I don't know which one you listened to.
I listened. It was like a year ago. So
okay.
So go ahead.
No, I mean, that was I think when I left, we had 3,000 members following our online program, let alone that wasn't even our first mission. Our first mission was only ebooks. I didn't see a lot of people in market doing ebooks at the time. So 3,000 people, that's online programming. You don't really have to worry about their emotions. You don't really have to worry about, what's going on in their life. I mean, it's nice if you do. That's a way to keep a good brand, but it's just their passions are misaligned. Just because you like programming doesn't mean you should open a gym.
I do think there's a difference though between kind of the people who are really into, I guess, programming and talking about their programming. We used to see this when we had the gyms, there'd be no way to opt in to a website for an affiliate, but there'd be a whole page dedicated to their process and the way they think about programming. So I do think there's that side, which I think, maybe spend some time on other things. But I do think, especially after our podcast guest from last week, I think there are gyms who are super passionate about training and watching new videos and reading books and learning about and honing their craft that end up putting out a superior service, and therefore their gym does really well. We've had guests on here where that's the case, but I do think there's something to just having coaches who love training, and that comes through in the class, And then if that comes through in the class, you have a better class and you have a better experience and people stay. So yeah, I think there are kind of two classes of people, you know, the guy who loves to write about programming and another guy who just loves to learn about it and then like puts it out in their class.
No, that's very well said. And in no way am I ever advocating not, increasing your knowledge of your craft. It's just what I've found after teaching over 300, I think 300-ish seminars. Most people are passionate enough and educated enough on training, but they couldn't tell you the difference between simple and amortized interest. They couldn't tell you the difference, between the tax code for a gym or like things of that nature. So maybe they should put a little bit more of that time into those sectors. It's kind of what I'm pushing them to do.
We've seen, so I think there's actually three pieces, right? There's the actual programming, which is like the workout itself. There's the coaching element. So taking that workout and teaching it to a bunch of different people, whether it's in a small group or personal training session. And then the third piece is like the client experience, right? And so I think the people who do worse are the people who are most obsessed with the stuff on the paper. So the amount of wall balls, the amount of thrusters. The people who do well or best are probably obsessed with the actual like client experience piece. And then the second piece is like the actual coaching. Because we had people who were obsessed with training and programming, but they were god awful coaches because they were, you had a Gen Pop person come in here, and I'm sure this is like eliciting, like people are coming to your head right now, Teo, and thinking of who these people are. Like you'd have a Gen Pop person come in, and they just didn't give a shit about training that person or scaling or making sure that they had a good time or felt welcomed or comfortable. There's just so many like soft skills involved, and a lot of the people we've seen who like don't like on this show who run monster gyms. But don't give a shit about business. And there's been a few who've just kind of like accidentally fallen into like these huge businesses, care a lot about that coaching client experience thing. And then they're also coachable themselves, right? So they kind of like struggled along and grinded out for 5 years, and they found someone. And like the same way they're like, oh yeah, my clients, they come to me for advice, and then they do it and they do well. And then they just follow the advice of the person they hired to coach them, and then their business explodes. And like, so Dan Trink's an example of that, who, he's out in New York. He was doing, I think 30,000 the first few years he was doing his gym. And I think this year they'll clear 300,000, just actual 10X difference. And so that element matters. And it's like, I think it's crazy, especially in the CrossFit world, how many coaches there are, but like aren't coachable themselves, right? Because a lot of times we got into business, we opened up that gym because we didn't do well with authority. We didn't like being told what to do. We didn't like it. A lot of times it's like, I didn't like the coach I had at my gym, so I left and started my own. And that turns into an impediment later on in business. I don't know if this is something you see a lot or if this is just me pulling nonsense out of my ass, and maybe you can give us some insight.
No,
there.
I don't think there was a really well said statement. I think some people, typically people who are happy, affiliate owners are not unhappy with CrossFit when they make 10 grand a month. And I hate that I always am the one bringing up numbers. And it blows my mind that the CrossFit community, we measure everything. I mean, it's in your level one. Everything, measurable, observable, and repeatable. Your numbers are your number one thing you should look at. You do. If I could ask you your Fran time, you tell me that. Your protein stats, you tell me that. And I'm like, you can't tell me, cost per member per class or anything of that nature. And that's where it's like, it's because the dogmatic thing, like you said, John, originally, the culture was like marketing what? And it was a different time. It was a different time in the world. And now you need to not do that, because I want to see people stay in business. But show me someone unhappy on a jet ski. Can't do it. Show me a CrossFit affiliate owner unhappy who pays themselves and isn't coaching every single class. Never seen it. I had an example of a guy who lives in Illinois, not Chicago. I got to preface that. Just like, Podunk, Illinois. He owns the building. His average revenue per member is like $178. I think he works with Two Brain, actually. He has a family of 3. It's their sole income. His wife's stay-at-home mom. He loves it. And he booked a meeting. He's like, man, I'm just so happy. I'm living the dream. And now he owns the building. It's gentrified enough that he has equity in it. If he ever needed to pull equity out of it, he could sell it one day. That's literally the American dream, what he just did. And so I want everyone to have that. And this is not a guy who's like a shark. I mean, he was a Southern accent, like some Southern Illinois, like just a kind human.
Well, that's what I love. That's what kind of got me excited at the games this year, is that it felt like it was socially acceptable to talk about business in the affiliate lounge. And so I do think now it is less about, like, back in the day, the question everybody asks, like, how many members you have. And the higher the number, the more successful you are, right?
I hate that. Like, it's your revenue. What's your revenue per month? I care less about members.
Exactly. Well, actually, no. A lot of times I hear like these people who are like, I have 3,000 members. It's like, I'm sorry, that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
And to your point, I think the kind of next phase is, how do we get a model that works where you can get the cash flow you need to kind of like build yourself a comfortable, enjoyable lifestyle. And I do think that is the model. I do think real estate is one of those plays. I do think it is reinvesting the cash flow from, like, getting your gym cash flowing, building correct systems, using that money to plow into assets that, kind of keep your costs fixed, but grow your net worth over time. And like, you really don't have to do a lot more than that, right? Like, we've interviewed people on this show, like Andrea Savard, OG CrossFit affiliate, like, just from like her real estate under her gym and like the adventures of that, she's made millions of dollars, like, in the last 2 years. She's made more than she ever did running a gym like the 10 years before, in like literally 2 years of real estate ownership. And these are all things that like are attainable to most affiliates who are, past making more than $5,000-$6,000 a month. These are all things that I would say a decent chunk of that are accessible to a decent chunk of gym owners if they just had the education and understood how the math worked.
But that's what you said earlier. If you're not willing to learn, like I actually kind of like, you guys are fitness guys. Typically you don't trust doctors who don't squat, whether your doctor squats or not, but deep down in your head, you're like, you know what I mean? Like you're walking, you're like, I know you did school. I know you're out, but in my head, I'm like, you don't look like you can bend your knees. And
you're
I don't think there's
bro.
Yeah. I don't think there's enough education. You're not yeah. That was some of our taglines. Like, to have someone tell you what to do who has small arms, right? Like, that's not going to, nonetheless, there's not enough of this, what we're talking about. There's not enough about business or, hey, what to do with the money. Do you even know what you're good at to plow those assets like you talked about? Or like, funny enough, Stu thinks this one's hilarious. One of my most successful things I've done in terms of cash flow is my ATM business, because apparently I'm good at selling. I know the word sales is terrible inside of CrossFit, but I'm just passionate about it. I'm like, hey, you're a cash only business. Let me drop one of my machines in here. And you're going to do well. Like, that's not my sales pitch, but nonetheless, it's worked out because I have relationships in my smaller town. So in my head, I'm like, oh, more affiliate owners might be good at that without even knowing. You're in a small town. The barbers go to your gym. The local people who own a restaurant or a bar, take this little course, learn how to do it. Take your $5,000, buy a $1,200 machine, put $3,000 in, and see if people start swiping transactions. Like, something that simple. We need to do more of that.
And what's funny is a lot of affiliate owners have very powerful networks, especially if you're priced correctly, right? Gym owners in general, like a guy, Brian Bott, who's been on the show a few times, his gym's in Rumson, which is like one of the richest commuter towns for New York City. And that guy's network is insane, right? Like, you would need to have like a $50 million plus net worth to have a network like that. And so a lot of gym owners have access to this. That's one of the things I miss most about owning a gym, is just like, it's a constant inbound feed of just like interesting, successful people. And that's kind of what happens to your membership base when you start charging $200, $300, $350, $400 a month. Like, you're going to attract a more successful clientele, because
very well said.
They're going to understand the value of health. and they're willing to pay a premium for it, right? All right. So we went down the business rabbit hole a little bit. You said you've done 300 seminars. I'm assuming at this point in your career, you've probably been to 400 or 500 CrossFit affiliates. Is that a fair number, a fair assessment?
Oh, including the seminars. In my head, I was like dropped in at 4. I mean, yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment.
All right. So in your opinion, give us like 2 or 3 of the best CrossFit gyms in the world.
Best is a funny word. So like, I guess
for you.
Yeah. I mean,
and tell us why.
Well, let's see. Wow, that's a tough one just off the top of my head. I can tell things about some that I really, really enjoy. I know that CrossFit, let's see, because my 8 states.
I can go first. I can give you.
No, go. Yeah,
you
go
mine
first
if you want.
You go first. You go first.
I, in my opinion, the best CrossFit gym in the world that I've been to is CrossFit South Brooklyn, David Osario's gym. So we worked in New York City. We would literally take our coaches there to do coach development because he just did such an amazing job. Like every time I went in there, I was just blown away by how much that dude cared, what his classes were like, how it was structured. And he's a guy who, just like you talk to him and he's not obsessed about business. Like he's obsessed about coaching people and having a good client experience. He did that inside the affiliate blog, which I thought was incredible content. Like he was one of the first guys like really who had a really successful gym and was sharing it. And he's somebody who's just been like constantly plowing into the business, just constantly reinvesting. Every time you go into that space, there's something new in there, something fun, the flavor is different. And so while I don't agree with all of his business practices, like it was just, I just loved dropping into that gym and tried to do it as frequently as I could.
That's a good one. And I forget you're so East Coast based, but yeah, David's awesome. I know for me, it's hard to put. I'm just going to throw a couple out there. Ryan McFadden is great. He's Ohio Strength. I think CrossFit.
Two-ring guy.
Yep. He's a personal friend of mine. We've talked a lot about other investments, and he's a dad, and he runs a really good show. He does a 24-hour, and that's pretty good for him. And I'm big into that as well. But he has a great client experience. He cares about coaching. He is a monster, and he's covered all aspects of CrossFit in terms of like sending people to the games, owning his building, being an absolute business shark. He's really, really good. And then I do love East Nashville. I know people immediately go, oh, that's where all, he's done a really good job, and he gives back a lot. He's always willing to, like, I had my first summit at his gym, with like 200 affiliate owners, and he was like, no problem. Absolutely. We'll shut the whole place down. Like, just like that type of guy. So, I mean, those are 3 come to mind.
I actually lived in Columbus, Ohio for a while and never went to Ryan's gym or Grandview, which I regret now in retrospect. Like this was 2010 when I started. The Grandview guys, I've like studied that guy a few times just because he was like one of the first affiliates who came out and was like, I'm doing $1 million a year. He was like super early to the open gym concept. Like I remember like he was doing that like when I was first starting.
He had a separate location at one point that was just that. I went to it and I was like, is this the future? Like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, everybody like the Hybrid AF guys were at the games. We talked with them. That seems to be like the preferred provider within the affiliate community. Like, is that you do it at your gym too, right? You're 24/7.
I absolutely love it.
And is that kind of you think best practice now?
I don't think. Are you a Pokemon guy?
I had some cards in the day for sure.
Okay. So I look at it this way. There's like different. I don't want to call them business models for CrossFit, but like different things that I've seen. And like I would say that the Snorlax of owning an affiliate, being like the big Pokemon that just chills and like doesn't do much, is the 24-hour thing. Because like I talked to my wife the other day, I'm like, what if we just upped our price so much and kept like 60 people and then got 300 people for the open gym side? You know what I mean? It's like I do see that is one way of doing things, but properly, you need to have parameters, systems on it as well. Because, like I wish that my gym had 2 sections that I could do it, because the classes do get in the way of the 24-hour access. But I hold on to so many members when they need to downgrade, they lost their job, they can't afford it anymore. I'm like, hey, go to the one class, 24-hour access. It's only this much. It's half.
How do you lose your gym looks massive. How much square footage is?
It's like 4,500 is the floor, but we have big classes. I know that's like 24 is fairly average. We could go up to 28. And when everyone has an erg, that automatically it's tough. Erg and a barbell. I do have like 24 of the small barbells though, just in case. But
so before we started the podcast, you kept referring yourself as the contrarian within CrossFit. And so what are some commonly held beliefs amongst the affiliate community that you think are just wrong?
Oh, this is great. First of all, the money grab situation. A lot of times affiliates will be like, money grab. And I'm like, dude.
Referencing what?
Affiliate dues.
Oh,
something
like paying the $3,000 is a money grab?
Yeah, or $25 to register for the open, and like understand that those are the people who are struggling. So I want to help them. But what I want people to understand is like we actually couldn't be less of a money grab company. Like we are truly out for the best for the affiliate community. And the only reason I say that is like me doing this job, I could make a lot more money. Not, doing similar stuff, being more of an entrepreneur on the business side, et cetera, than I do now. But I have it in my heart for the Midwest affiliates because I've done so many of their level 1 and level 2s. I know them personally. I know their gyms personally, and I don't want to see them fail. So I'd rather put my knowledge towards helping them inside of CrossFit versus like just being a friend of CrossFit.
So my question is, spending time at the game, spending time with some of the seminar staff, it does seem like, and even talking with you now, it does seem like CrossFit is making an investment in trying to not help the affiliates, but also just kind of like raise the bar a bit and do a little more quality control. The fact that there are more educational resources for business stuff. I see a renewed push for people getting their certs or going up a level in their certifications. What are the other things that are you seeing this kind of push, and what are other things that people can expect from HQ in terms of, quality control?
So the number one thing that we have heard is that we want to see better affiliates. Now you have to go through the starter kit. Like when you apply for affiliation, you have to go through the starter kit first to prove competency, to know this is something you want to do, to check off those boxes versus just like throwing someone, hey, go for it. I know that's the number one thing, because if affiliate owners have a bad experience, if a consumer has a bad experience, they feel that it's bad for the whole CrossFit community. And I agree with them. So I like that at least we're making people do the starter kit first before. So to apply for affiliation, you have to put some money down, and then you have to go through this kit. You get access to our tools, which have exclusive discounts and things like that right away. You can meet with a mentor. You can contact me, like all these things that are, pro the affiliate starting. So I'm very happy with that. We did that in the last 6 months.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was my conversation with you or one of the other people on staff that I spoke with, but they said the alarm was rung when someone asked, hey, if I asked you to send your mom to an affiliate and you just chose one off of the map, how comfortable would you feel with doing that? And like said, like literally nobody raised their hand.
Yeah, I heard that was at the California Summit. You come to the Midwest when everyone will feel comfortable. It's just like different vibes.
It's just like it's like the Canadian one. Everyone's just
Like,
nice
yeah.
over there. They're like, yeah,
not,
yeah,
not
sure.
in your fiefdom, not in your kingdom. In your kingdom, everyone's safe. Everyone's sending their grandmas to CrossFit. Yeah.
Everyone's on a jet ski, and everyone makes $10,000 a month.
It is, man, dude. It's tough. It's tougher. Like Danielle is on my team. She's the rep for the East Coast. So where you're used to, John, and all those affiliates, and like they deal with much harder situations, higher rent. I mean, in the Midwest, you would not believe some of the rents. I talked to a gym again, and like I'll never name the gym, but I think his rent is $1,400 a month, and his revenue is $36,000 a month. I don't care what you do in the middle. I don't care what you do. You can't screw that up that much. Like you have an opportunity to do well.
300 assault bikes.
He might. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't.
You can't park in his parking lot because it's just filled with so many assault bikes.
Yeah. That's going to be on Tuesday. I do these calls, and my focus this Tuesday is going to be the dumbest things you can purchase and why for your affiliate. Like I'm just going to get the owners to think like, when you're about to buy something over $500, I sleep one night, and then I really want you to think, how is this going to actually make my business better, my operations better? Yeah.
The answer is a reverse hyper. Everybody goes down the reverse hyper train, and we fell victim and bought one, and it gets like rings on it because it's only used for people's shaker bottles. That's the only thing in any CrossFit gym I've ever been to that I see on the reverse hyper, is that it works as a wonderful $1,000 table. But now they make the nice folding ones. Like Rogue makes those sweet folding ones. So maybe that's the answer.
Yeah. My lead, and I know this is like, I see this not working well in other gyms, so I don't want people to think that they should go try this, but my like lead kind of manager girl, I've been coaching her since she's been 14. She missed the CrossFit Games by 1 point at semifinals. So like she's an amazing athlete, but she's an amazing like ambassador for the gym, and she has to have like a GHD. And she knows I hate the space that it takes up. Like I'm not saying having GHDs is bad, and if you put it into your program, you operate it correctly. But we are tight on floor space with all those ergs now and with all the additional equipment. So it's like, yeah, but she has it.
Well, Andrew, I know you got to go. This has been a good time chopping it up. Where do people go if they want to find out more about you?
Well, if you're an owner in the Midwest and you don't know me, that's a problem. You haven't received an email. You don't follow the Midwest CrossFit affiliates. You don't follow the YouTube. None of which is supposed to be cool. I hate sounding like I've done the route of like follow the Instagram to be cool in other businesses, right? This is solely for information. I know a lot of times people don't even answer their email, so that's why I have an Instagram for it. I have cool conversations, so I like to put those onto YouTube if it's going to be just the Zoom link and you need to listen. So those, my personal Instagram. I'm trying to be off that as much as I possibly can, but I do check the messages. So, yeah.
We'll link to it in the show notes. But if you're a gym owner who isn't happy with how much money you're making and you don't answer your emails, I think we've gotten to the root of the problem. So that's a tactical piece of business advice. If Andrew is inbounding you and you haven't responded, chances are you're leaving a little bit of money on the table.
I agree.
That's all for this week's Gym World Worldwide. Be sure to dislike, unsubscribe, and leave a hateful comment. We will catch you next week.